Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to chat with you guys about this book and concept titled Baby-Led Weaning by Miss Jill Rapley. Well, first let me start by saying, for those of you guys who don't already know, I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. One of my jobs is to work on feeding with children. One of my jobs as a mom is to work on feeding with my baby. So now that Kai is well over 6 months old, we have started this process of baby-led weaning. What is baby-led weaning, you may ask? I'll tell you. So baby-led weaning just means you're gonna let your kid feed themselves as you start to wean them off of breast milk or formula. I understand. Probably a lot of you are thinking, why in the heck would I let my kid feed themselves? Why try it? In terms of child development, it really does make sense. Babies at this age are so interested in exploring their environment, they're often putting whatever they can in their mouths. Why wouldn't we let them put food in their mouth? Not just puree foods, but the foods that mommy and daddy eat at the table because that's what they're really interested in. By engaging in this concept, you're letting your child explore food, learn about food, learn how to manipulate food safely in their mouth. They're learning how to use their tongue efficiently to move the food to the back of their mouth and how to safely swallow. And really, we're letting our kids have some control over what they put in their mouth. Think about how foreign it would be for us if someone wanted to spoon feed us all the time. Like, no, we want to control what's going in our mouth, and I'd imagine the same is true for our babies. I completely understand having reservations or an inability to do this at all, because I will admit it is terrifying to try at first. I just want to offer you guys the information that I have available so you can decide what will work best for you, your baby, and your family dynamics. So the book briefly goes over how we ended up with baby food in the first place, which really helped me put things in perspective. In the early 1900s, wet nurses were popular for those who could afford them, and they often took on the task of breastfeeding. But as their popularity declined and mothers took on the role of breastfeeding, doctors felt it was pertinent to step in and help mothers with by-the-clock feeds. So the doctors go back to the drawing board and they decide, all right, I want to keep the by-the-clock feeds, but we're also going to introduce baby food, which is pureed food in a jar, because we're seeing these issues in the babies around 2 to 4 months. So then we fast forward to the 1960s, and doctors recognize actually babies need to be given food in order to learn how to chew it and manipulate it. It was assumed that since purees or baby foods already existed, that's what needed to be introduced to a baby before we allowed them to start food at 6 months. Jill argues that's not the case. You can skip purees altogether and just start the solids when your baby's ready around 6 months. So the next natural question is, when would my baby be ready? The book discusses the 4 readiness signs. The first readiness sign includes your baby being able to hold their head upright for 15 to 30 minutes, while the second one is that your kid's able to sit upright almost independently, but maybe they have some help with a high chair. A key sign is that your baby is able to grasp items independently and bring them to their mouth. And the final readiness sign is that your child is demonstrating an interest in food. Before I show you guys what baby-led weaning looks like in action, I just wanted to share a couple of tips when it comes to prepping food for your baby. This time I'll be offering some zucchini, some broccoli, and some celery. Quick side note, if you guys have babies that are teething, which you probably do, celery is a great choice because it has an analgesic property to it, which hopefully will ease some of the pain your baby might be in. So I'm just leaving a good piece of the stem on the broccoli so that the baby's got something to hold on to. So the book recommends that you offer the baby foods in stick shapes that are long. That way they're able to grab it and put it in the side of the mouth where they'll do a lot of munching. Now I'm just going to cut them in half because baby likes to throw them off the tray sometimes, and now he has twice as many opportunities to eat it. One more tip before we get to the star of the show. So this right here is a crinkle cutter and I love it. I think I found it on Amazon for about $7 or so. And I will use this to cut any fruit or vegetable that might slip out of Kai's hands. So I know I'm not cutting this into a stick shape, but he basically gnaws this down to a mushy puree-like consistency before swallowing, so I feel okay offering the round pieces. This is Kai's first time trying zucchini. And you can kind of see him just checking it out before he decides, yeah, I want to put it in my mouth. Grabs it with both hands and brings it to his mouth and starts munching. Success! Happy baby! So this setup is actually more in line with what the book recommends. You're supposed to offer your baby 2, 3, or more choices of food items on their tray so they can decide what they like and what they'd rather leave behind. At this age, food is just supposed to be fun. The baby's getting most of their nutrients through either the breast milk or the formula, which is great because it takes a lot of the pressure off of the caregiver and the baby to eat the food. There's another important fact that I'd like to point out. Babies come equipped with a couple of awesome safety features when it comes to feeding. The first is that your babies start with a gag reflex that's triggered in the front 2/3 of their mouth, whereas with adults, it is triggered in the back 1/3 of our mouth. The reflex eventually moves back with age, but having this reflex so far forward at an early age is one protective mechanism for keeping food out of the baby's airway. The second protective behavior young babies demonstrate while feeding is what's known as tongue protrusion. And it really just looks like the baby is sticking their tongue out rhythmically. It can actually sometimes make it hard for babies to keep the food in their mouth because their tongue is moving back and forth, which oftentimes pushes the food out of the mouth. So as you can see, Kai's not getting much off of any of these pieces of food, which is completely fine. He's just learning how to touch it and taste it and put it in his mouth. And that is exactly the goal of baby-led weaning. Kai's double fisting, and actually he's become quite proficient at gnawing pieces of food off into his mouth, and that can be kind of scary at first, but you will see them either cough or gag as they learn what pieces they can manage and swallow safely and what pieces they need to spit out. And it's very important to note that coughing and gagging are not the same as choking. So right here, you see that piece he's managed to chew off, and you'll actually watch him spit out the pieces he doesn't feel safe with. And here comes another piece out the mouth. And that's baby-led weaning in a nutshell. It's super straightforward and very simple. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.